There are many institutions and groups that are involved with Flock Hill. It starts right from the University of Canterbury as the landowner, Flock Hill Station Limited as the occupier, the leasee, DOC, the district and regional councils, and then there's also a group called WELRA that's been heavily involved. And WELRA has been the overarching body that everybody's kind of been involved with to try and assist with what's happening at Flock Hill. For a number of years now we've attempted to try and control and push back on the spread of the wilding conifers that have been happening through that area. Mainly because it's recognised that they're just going to end up spreading all across that farm and into the Torless area if we leave them alone and leave them to go.
So central government, working closely with local government and others, have implemented a national control program, and we're looking to control sort of the highest risk conifer species across the most invadable parts of New Zealand. Wilding conifers are really bad. They invade farmland, they invade our native ecosystems, particularly short stature native vegetation. They shade out our native species. They reduce the amount of water that's available, and they change our iconic landscapes. Across New Zealand there's 14 management units that are under control for this year, totalling about 1 million hectares of invaded land or affected land. And the area at Craigieburn is one of those 14 areas that's been controlled in this first year. Wilding conifers, despite all the work that's been going on to date, have been spreading at about 5% a year. They already affect well over 1.8 million hectares in New Zealand, and that spread is occurring at about 90,000 hectares a year. So what we can expect is that over the next 20 years, around 20% of New Zealand would be affected to some extent by wilding conifers.
Over the last 10 years, we have battled with the pine trees. We had a fire at home 2 years ago, which gave us a big head start, or added to the good work that WELRA had been doing over the last 8-9 years. But I really still did think that we were losing the battle. And then we now have MPI involved, and I can see in the last 12 months, since MPI has ramped up their involvement, we're actually going to win this battle. So in the last 12 months, the intensification of the eradication has really gone to a new level, and I can see an end point, finally, to the trees.
WELRA was formed in relation to a group of people who were concerned about wilding spread throughout the Waimakariri Basin, of which Flock Hill was the greatest concentration, and so that's where most of the trees were.
Contorta pine is worse than the others because it seeds at a very young age. It has the lightest of all those introduced conifers in terms of seed weight, so therefore it can blow greater distances, and it has an extra vigour in terms of getting itself away, whereas some of the other introduced conifers, yes, they can regenerate naturally too, but not half as vigorously as Contorta pine. The trees were planted because in the 50s, 60s, there was concern about the condition of the backcountry in terms of loss of vegetation, too much burning and grazing and erosion, induced erosion. So the trees were planted as part of a big exercise to get a cover back on depleted soils in the high country.
The biggest changes I've seen at Flock Hill have come in the last season with a huge amount of funding from MPI. We've been able to make a huge dent in the wilding pine problem up there. Work that's been carried out on Flock Hill has been broadcast boom spraying of dense areas of wilding pines, bulldozing of trees back to pasture, and chainsaw work on scattered trees. Some days the work at Flock Hill has been very intense. We've had up to 40 people on the ground controlling trees, 3 helicopters and 2 bulldozers all working at once, spending upwards of $50,000 to $100,000 per day.
There definitely is a light at the end of the tunnel with this one, especially we were organised enough that when this MPI money came along, we were in a position to take full advantage of it, and it's going to be amazing. The area is going to be very good, but it's probably going to take us another 10 years to do it.